Hello, I'm Tracy Gray with another edition of Super Icons, and we're looking at voter participation as well as getting young students from historical black colleges and universities to get interested in voting, registering, and coming out to vote. The deadline, at least here in Georgia, is February 24th for registration. Students can register to vote here in Georgia, or in fact, they could register and vote from where they came from. The key here is just participation, getting excited about learning about the candidates, learning about how they stand on issues, coming out to vote, and making your voice heard. I'm here with Collins in the Georgia State Capitol, inquiring about how important is the millennial vote and Generation X vote in the upcoming 2020 election. What's your opinion?
For me, I look at it historically, young people don't vote. And that's been the stigma with young people. And so I think moving forward in 2020, we're such a large voting bloc that I feel like if young people were engaged and wanted to really get out there and make a difference, this would be the year to do it. Go out and vote. And voting is important. And when you're such a huge block of the electorate, it's important for you to be engaged in the civic process.
A lot of people don't realize that February 24th is the deadline for registering in Georgia. What can be done to get the word out so people participate?
You know, we can't be complacent about it. We have to make sure that every single person gets out to vote. And so what we have to do from what we can from our perspective, from the government perspective, to make sure that all citizens know about their right to vote, their ability to vote, and when these deadlines are, because oftentimes kids are so preoccupied with so many different things that they don't think about, oh, when do I need to register to vote? And at this point, you need to make sure that your voice is heard, and you can't do that unless you're registered to vote. And so from a government perspective, from a community perspective, and even from a word of mouth, telling your friends, your neighbors, hey, you need to get out and make sure you're registered to vote, because every voice does matter.
It's also important for some students to realize that they can either register to vote in Georgia or vote by absentee ballot
Yes.
in the state they came from.
Yes.
And that little tricky bit of knowledge has kept some students unable to vote in Texas and other states. But here in Georgia, there is a push to let people know that they need to register by February 24th, 2020, or in fact vote by absentee ballot. Comment on that.
Yes, and so as a recent college grad, I ran into a lot of that with students that I went to school with. And so people who were in school, they were like, hey, I'm in Athens, I can't vote up here. I've got to go all the way back to where I'm from to be able to vote. But that's not the case. With an absentee ballot, you can have it mailed to you no matter where you are and vote just as if you were in your home district. And so making sure people are aware of that and people take that knowledge and do something with it and make sure that they fill out their absentee ballots and turn it in, and so that your voice can be counted on election day.
And finally, some people are curious about what the temperature is in state capitals all around the country in regard to voter disenfranchisement with having polls being closed. But what would you say to those people, to those students who really have to fight to get the right location, to get the right voter registration information, to participate, and how important it is for everyone to take part at historical black colleges and universities and young people nationwide?
Well, I can't speak to anybody in particular, but from what I've experienced working here under the Capitol, I know that every single elected official, every single staff member here at the Capitol is committed to making sure that everybody has access to a voting location and everybody can make it to voting without any issues whatsoever. And so, obviously, there are going to be issues sometimes, whether it's technological or sometimes weather doesn't play its part, but what I want everybody to know is that, yes, we are committed to making sure that voting and access to voting is something that that our government does take seriously here in the state of Georgia. And if anybody has any issues whatsoever with voting, they can always contact the elected officials in their counties, in their areas, or contact the Secretary of State's office here in the Capitol, and we will do what we can to kind of make sure that the problems are resolved.
And there are people that are looking at getting new voting machines, dealing with issues that might deal with undercount. It's an ongoing process, and nothing has been decided in regard to the new voting machines yet, but I would imagine you believe that everything is being done to make sure every vote counts.
Certainly. And I work with some of these people on a daily basis, and I know that they're working very hard to make sure that this 2020 election goes off without a hitch, and they're doing everything that they can do to make sure that every vote is counted, and the technology is accurate, and not only accurate, but safe from interference from anywhere else. And so we want to make sure that people know that, and that your state officials are doing everything in their power, absolutely, to make sure that this stuff happens without a hitch, and that we have nothing to worry about when election day rolls around.
This includes Russian interference, I suspect.
Well, I can't comment on that, but yes, it includes any kind of interference by any foreign body because this is an American election and we want to make sure we keep it an American election.
And what do you think can be done to get Gen Xers and young people to participate in voting?
I think that maybe starting at a younger age, so maybe starting at like middle school to high school. I know you can start to vote when you're 18, but getting that information earlier will kind of set you up to be an active voice within your community. We don't really get education like that in schools, so providing that to our younger generations will help generations move forward. So yeah. That's what I would say. And then, of course, like, yes, that definitely is confusing. That was confusing for me as an out-of-state student in California, whether or not I should send in my votes to California or send in my votes to Georgia. And so just having access to more information locally within your communities and doing more public outreach also, too, could help to skew that for the better, and get those results a little bit higher.
Tanasha, getting young people to come out to vote is obviously a challenge when some young people don't think their vote counts. What would you tell those people?
I would absolutely tell those people that their vote does count. I am a graduate of an HBCU, Alabama State University, and getting out to vote is so important because if you want things to happen and you want to see things change, you have to cast a vote so that people know that your voice matters.
Do you think young people are motivated to come out as much as they were, say, for the Obama election? What can we do to get more people out in 2020?
I think in 2020, we need more grassroots efforts. So we need people actually going out, knocking on doors and reminding people that just because Obama's not president anymore, that doesn't mean it's not important to vote anymore. So the same issues that were important to people 8 years ago, 10 years ago are still important now. We need to continue to fight for them.
Liz, there's some places that people have been disenfranchised from voting because of location, because of the time of voting. What's your view on how we can propel and motivate people to overcome these obstacles and still come out and vote?
If your friend has a car, get them to drive you to vote. If you need to take the bus, you go take the bus to vote. If you need, just by holding our legislators accountable, that's actually what's going to make the change and make people even more mobile. Because I don't know if you guys know about, well, you guys definitely know about the gerrymandering bill that just got okayed by the Superior Court or the Supreme Court. And that wouldn't have happened if we had more mobility in the first place.
And you talked to me about those problems where some students and other people of young voting age really didn't feel propelled and motivated to come out because of either disfranchisement issues and location issues. Talk about the need for overcoming that.
Yeah, well, there's a variety of issues. For one, we feel that our voices are not represented. A lot of politicians, I think, they represent the old generation, so there's a lot of new, radical, progressive ideas, and it's not at the table currently. And two, I think the voting mechanism is getting a bit, I would say, arcane. We should have new, ways to vote, right? Because some people may be, away from the states, away from the cities, and I think the absentee ballot needs to be processed in a more effective way.
What would you say finally to those people that say their vote doesn't count?
I would say that no, it does count. Voting is a right, voting is a privilege, and voting is what we do in a democracy.
We're talking with Gren in regard to the need for young people to be motivated in the 2020 election, to come out, to know the candidate, to know the issues. What advice would you have for those students that say, in historical black colleges and university campuses nationwide, that say their vote doesn't count? What would you say?
I would say that your vote matters. I would say don't feel discouraged. I would say feel motivated because change is coming. And in order to make change, you have to be the change. You have to go out and vote.
It's important to come out and vote, but what about the obstacles that confront some people because they don't know the registration deadline, they don't know the fact they can vote by absentee ballot, maybe their youth tells them that they should participate. What would you tell that individual that says, I want to do something to change the world?
I would say try to find opportunities where you can speak with mentors, advocates, people who've done social work, political work. I can definitely encourage young people as an educator and for middle school students that your voice matters. It doesn't matter what age, what color you are. As long as you can be able to articulate yourself and be able to cast your vote, you're a citizen. And you deserve that.
Talking about different ways of getting people to come out to vote, not just for the presidential preference primary,
Right.
but also for the presidential race and the races for county commissioners, school board.
Yes.
What are your views on that?
That to me, that's more important than the presidency. I feel, because when you vote for city councilman and things of that nature, it's for your neighborhood, your community. So you want to see things done in your community. You want to see the streets paved. You want to make sure that your community is safe. These are the things that you need to go out and do. You need to vote.
We're going to continue this live stream podcast about registering people to vote as well as people coming out to vote right after this. We're talking about getting people motivated to be woke and come out and register to vote. The presidential preference primary as well as the primary elections need to have people registered by February 24th, 2020. I'm here with Melissa. Why is it important for people to vote? You're registered. Why should other people be registered?
The elections deal with things that go on, and it's going to affect everybody's life. Everybody, everything from how much they take in taxes to what's going on with your children. So, you know, with something that deals so much with your everyday life, it's very important to let your voice be heard and find people and vote for people that represent, you know, to represent you in the White House.
You're registered to vote.
I am.
Why do you think other people do not register and, more importantly, do not come out to vote even though they may be registered?
I think that people feel like their voices don't count or they don't matter, and it really does. It really makes a big difference.